Okay, so let's talk about The Protector. It's Jackie Chan's film from 1985. So this is when he made his venture over to America, teaming with James Glickenhaus, who, of course, wrote and directed The Exterminator. And also he was executive producer on Maniac Cop. And now, of course, we have The Protector from 85. It's one of those... This really is a film that fits into the James Glickenhaus wheelhouse, basically. You know, he seemed to specialise in these gritty, street-level thrillers set, obviously, in New York. But interesting teaming in with Jackie Chan, you know. You gotta believe that this was kind of at a time where Jackie was maybe in a way trying to reinvent himself or show that different side to him. Like, he wasn't just the lovable, you know, we use the idea of him being almost like the Buster Keaton of martial arts, you know, but obviously very different sort of thing here with The Protector. So Jackie Chan, obviously a cop in New York City, came over from China about a decade earlier to the land of opportunity and got enrolled in the police force. So basically, he has his own way of doing things. You know, he's something of a maverick, and you have your whole thing with the police chief. You know, God damn it, Jackie, you're a loose cannon on deck. But anyway, what the film centres around is a kidnapping that takes place. Jackie and his partner Danny Aiello, they're basically attending this fashion shoot. Basically, there's a local one of the wealthy business guys. He's having a soiree, and there's going to be a fashion parade there. So Jackie and Danny Aiello are in attendance basically to act as essentially a sort of security, you know. I guess when you have as much money as this guy running the show has, you can get that sort of thing. But things go awry and the businessman's daughter is kidnapped, so obviously Jackie and Danny Aiello put on the high jump for it, but then obviously they decide, look, we think we know who did this. They're involved with the underworld in Hong Kong. So why don't we go over to Hong Kong and we'll get the guys. We'll find out what it's all about. Because they subsequently learn that the daughter's been smuggled out of the country. So obviously Jackie and Danny Aiello head off to Hong Kong in hot pursuit. And then so you have maybe the first half hour or so that's set in New York, but the main bulk of the movie is set in Hong Kong. So it's interesting, you know. You kind of have that globe-trotting element there, which is nice, and you have the idea of obviously Jackie's character going back to his home turf, and obviously this film was 85, so of course Danny Aiello's character's a Vietnam vet, so he knows the territory from his Vietnam days. So they go over there and there's tensions, because obviously it was still British Hong Kong at the time, so you have the British government presence there who aren't happy about these two interlopers coming in on their on their jurisdiction, on their turf. So you've got the whole button heads thing there, but then obviously they realise that there's something greater at play here. You know, it's part of a larger conspiracy that, you know, it's all drug manufacturing and smuggling. So the kidnapping of the daughter was just the tip of the iceberg, and it all centres around this big boss played by Roy Chow, which is always great to see Roy Chow in stuff. I love him. Great, you know, he was so awesome in A Touch of Zen, obviously Enter the Dragon and Bloodsport, and getting to see him here was a real treat. And they put him in all these fancy outfits as well. He's always the best dressed guy in the scene. Like at the climax when everything comes to a head, for some reason Roy Chow's just in a tuxedo. We don't know why, he just is. It's amazing. And then obviously you have the big heavy of the piece, of course, who's played by Bill Wallace. So you know that things are gonna, things are boiling up. They're boiling up very, very slowly, but you know, eventually Bill Wallace and Jackie Chan are gonna square off. It's just a question of time, and that, for me, the finale where Bill Wallace and Jackie square off, it's in this like warehouse, because why wouldn't it be? That's the best set piece of this movie. What a fantastic sequence when Jackie and Bill Wallace fight. That, I mean, that is worth the price of admission alone. But yeah, again, it's a real cool one, this. And obviously, I've been talking about a few of Jackie's on here, the martial arts films that he did in the 70s. And they were all, of course, period pieces. You know, he was usually a martial arts student or a student of the Shaolin Temple. But what's nice with The Protector, of course, is to see him in a contemporary setting. I mean, contemporary is 1985, but for all intents and purposes, a modern day setting. And obviously, going more into that gritty crime thriller, you know, and working with a guy like James Glickenhaus. It's always interesting, you know, when you watch the Glickenhaus stuff, like obviously with The Exterminator. It's one of those where you don't, what was interesting about that one is you don't quite know how to feel about what the protagonist is doing. You know, you think, well, I appreciate he's getting results, but is he going too far? You know, so the thing with Glickenhaus, he was never afraid to push the envelope, you know, so he never shied away from any hard-edged, gritty stuff. And there are sequences in this where you can see, okay, that's a James Glickenhaus special there. But I really like this one. I really, really do. Again, it was obviously an opportunity for Jackie to try and broaden his horizons in a lot of ways, you know, and show that he wasn't just a one-trick pony. And obviously, you know, entering the brave new world of the American market, you know, it's really good. And Jackie and Danny Aiello, they have a great chemistry and dynamic together as the two partners. They've got a really great dynamic going. And it's one of those, obviously, because, you know, fair enough, it's Jackie's movie, but I gotta say, Danny Aiello, he gets some shining moments in this as well. He does great. He really, really does. So, and again, this is another 88 films release, and once again, they're doing the thing. They're doing the magic. But yeah, this was a real nice one. And again, obviously, as good as the martial arts stuff is, with obviously Shaolin Wooden Men to Kill with Intrigue and Dragon Fist, you know, this was obviously a bit of a breath of fresh air, you know, in the sense that, okay, we're in a more contemporary setting. You got Jackie as this hard-boiled cop, you know. Again, that whole idea of seeing his serious side, you know, and that he can do the gritty stuff, although there is a couple of moments obviously here and there where we get a bit of the physical humour stuff in the fighting, but again, that's, you know, to some degree or another you're going to get that with Jackie. It's only in very rare circumstances where it's completely serious as a heart attack, you know, obviously, but again, for the most part, this is played as such. And you know, that odd moment of slapstick comedic stuff aside, you know, we suddenly get back on track and back in gear, you know. So if you're like me and sometimes you get a bit turned off by too much of the comedic stuff from Jackie, don't worry. The same with the other films I've talked about on here, you know, there might be a little bit here and there, but for the most part it's serious. And again, you know, it's a hard-hitting movie, and it gets dark in places, but it is, I really do recommend this one. You know, if nothing else, just for the fight between Jackie Chan and Bill Wallace. But yeah, this, again, it really is good. So that wraps this up. Glad to have got this one. It's another fine addition to the collection. But thank you for listening to me ramble, and please obviously share your thoughts on this. You know that it's got some great action, obviously Jackie doing his thing like only he can. So it's definitely worth, if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth seeking out. Obviously I've got the Blu-ray. At the minute, if you've got Amazon Prime, it's available to stream as part of your Prime subscription. So what have you got to lose? But thank you for listening to me ramble. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.